I left Apple's ecosystem in 2024 for the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra, but I want to talk to you about my overall experience with this phone, what made me want to switch, and honestly, how I'm enjoying it so far. So I have made this video in the past, and let me be clear, it's honestly been a struggle. Going from Android to Android to iPhone is exhausting, and the reason why I did it is honestly because I felt more comfortable on iOS. I've been using an iPhone for most of my life, and when it comes to Android, I'm very new to this ecosystem, I'm very new to this operating system, and in general, it was just very hard to make the switch because a lot of things kept me locked into iOS. So I wanted to make this video because last week's topic of me actually switching to the S24 Ultra got 400,000 views in just a week. And I wanted to be clear about that video and discuss a couple of things that you've asked me in the comments below. So before we get into it, a like and a sub is always appreciated. Thank you so much for your support. And for the 1,500 new people that came from that video, thank you for being here. So yeah, obviously switching to Android is a pretty big deal if you've used an iPhone for your entire life. And it's something that I honestly really struggled with, like I said, because of things like iMessage, FaceTime, and the overall communication that I had with people in my family and friends who strictly use iPhone. I think the first time that I made the switch from the iPhone 13 Pro Max to the S22 Ultra, it was a really big deal because a lot of things were missing on that phone that I used on a daily basis. Now, when I say all of my friends and family owned an iPhone, well, they still do, I'm not kidding about that. Like literally every single one of my friends here in Canada uses an iPhone. So when it comes to communication, of course group chats are gonna be made over iMessage, of course we're gonna be using FaceTime, and to not have that is extremely weird. The first time I made the switch, I remember how big of a deal it was, to the point where that was honestly one of the things that really pulled me right back into the iPhone when the iPhone 14 Pro Max came out. I don't think that people understand how much of a monopoly Apple has on its consumers when it comes to messaging. And I use that word very lightly because I'm not calling Apple a monopoly in general. I'm not talking about the DOJ lawsuit that's happening. That's a completely different topic. But when it comes to its users, there's a lot of people who are just strictly stuck on iOS because they don't want to give up iMessage. And for that, I will say, have you used WhatsApp? So here's the thing. I thought it would be really difficult to convince a lot of my friends to switch over to WhatsApp as a messaging platform. And for the most part, I was kind of right. However, a lot of people already use WhatsApp for work and overseas communication, etc. And when it comes to messaging people, for the most part, everyone that I've tried to send like a large format photo or video to, or have tried to call over WhatsApp with video messaging, it's not been a problem at all. Pretty much everyone is using the application. And if you don't have WhatsApp already, well, you should probably get into it. The thing is that Google Messages on Android communicates via RCS. And while RCS is a really fantastic thing, I like it a lot better than iMessage. It's more secure, and in general, it seems like a really good communication option that allows for the same things that iMessage does, even when it comes to message reactions and stuff like that. Now, Google Messages, the only problem with it is that it's not available on iPhone. The only way that you can communicate to an iPhone is with SMS, and the problem with SMS is, of course, when it comes to those picture videos, those MMSs, they tend to be really low in quality, and it doesn't allow for things like video calling. I personally really enjoy Google Messages over iMessage, but not a lot of people I know use RCS, and it's unfortunate because it's a really good tool for communication. So I've just switched over to using WhatsApp as my primary messaging service. Another thing that I want to cover is Google Photos. I got a lot of comments in my last video asking me how I converted everything. And honestly, the easiest way that I can tell you how to take your iCloud backup and bring it over to Google Photos, at least just for your photos and videos, is to download the Google Photos app on your iPhone and start the backup process. Now, unfortunately, with the iPhone, you have to leave the phone screen on Google Photos to be able to complete the backup. But when you do, everything that you have is going to be stored in Google Photos, and Google Photos is honestly a really cheap service. I think I pay about $2 Canadian for like 200 gigs of photo backups, which is huge because on iCloud I was paying about $1.50 for only 50 gigabytes, and obviously that includes your phone backup and stuff like that. So it gets taken up a lot easier. Google Photos, I'm able to take a lot of raw images, whether it's my phone or my Fujifilm, and I'm able to upload the raw images to my Google Photos account so that I can use them and edit them on Lightroom on my phone whenever I want to. Now, I think the thing that's important about having a backup service like Google Photos is that you can access it on any phone. You can't get your iCloud backup on a device like a Samsung unless you go through the iCloud website, and overall, it's a really convoluted process with downloading those images. I think even if you have the suspicion of wanting to switch to Android in the near future, or if you do plan on doing so, using a photo service like Google Photos is a really good way to keep your memories and bring them across multiple devices. Now, another thing that was honestly really critical for me is that I don't really carry my wallet around everywhere I go. I use my phone for a lot of things. I use my phone for my car keys, I use my phone for Google Wallet and stuff like that, or at least Samsung Pay. When I was using the iPhone, I found that Apple Pay was just a lot more consistent. Like, when I would make payments on my device, it was just a lot easier and I never really had any problems. But when I switched to the S22 Ultra, even in the Freshco that was downstairs of my apartment complex, I was never able to actually complete a payment using it. And honestly, that's something that really sucked, because as someone who pretty much relied on my Apple Pay, not needing to actually carry around a physical wallet everywhere that I went, it was quite a shocker to have it not work in a lot of situations, and it left me sometimes stranded having to put items back on the shelf. I will say that I haven't had a problem like that at all recently. I've actually been pretty comfortable relying on Samsung Pay. I don't know what exactly has changed, but in the places that I used to use this device and it never used to work, I haven't had a problem at all. And I think a lot of people forget that Samsung and Google also offer their own wallet service, because I know a lot of people, and the reason why they didn't want to switch is because they have Apple Pay. I get it, but it doesn't really make any sense. What I actually really like about Samsung Pay, and you can obviously do this on Apple Pay as well, but I found this to work really well on this phone, where I have my actual physical car key. Well, digital car key. And using this, I'm able to use the NFC reader in my phone, tap my door, unlock the car, and I'm able to start this by having this placed on the wireless charger. This thing works flawlessly, and I don't have a problem with Samsung Wallet or Google Wallet anymore. And honestly, I'm really happy using the service. So if you're skeptical about switching because of the wallet, it's not a big deal, trust me. Also, one thing that really held me back, and I think is a point of contention for a lot of people, is the social media applications. Now, iPhone is pretty much goated as being like the best phone for social media, and I'm not really gonna deny that, but let me ask you something. Are you making money on social media? Are you an influencer? Do you have millions of followers? If not, and it's not really something that you want to achieve like soon, I don't think you'll have a problem with using Samsung or any Android really when it comes to social media applications. Now, I used to have really big problems with Twitter. Twitter used to stumble when I was scrolling, like causing it to, have like a really jerky timeline. And then applications like Instagram just had a lot of weird problems. And with Snapchat, which isn't an app that I use anymore, I noticed that it wasn't really a good experience on the S22 Ultra. That being said, times have changed, and Samsung is putting a lot of work into these social applications now, working with these developers, which is a really good thing, because social media, as cliche or whatever, it's really important. It's important for a lot of people to connect and share their experiences, and also it's a platform and a tool that allows people to make money unconventionally. I honestly wouldn't be using this phone if I had a problem with how it performed in social media. A big reason for that obviously is because I do this for a living now, but it's also something that's just really annoying, like sending a story and your images is cropped really awkwardly, or uploading like a photo to Snapchat and it just looks terrible. Whether you're using the native camera or you're actually taking photos and uploading them to these platforms, honestly, right now they look pretty good, and I haven't really noticed anything too weird. And obviously some people are still gonna crap on the quality of these phones, but honestly, I think it's just different. I think people aren't used to seeing other devices like Samsung on Instagram stories. I think they look great. I don't have a problem with it. And now with the HDR support, they look fantastic. So when it comes to the overall software and like the connectivity and how this phone integrates in my everyday life, I haven't really noticed too much of a difference from using this over my iPhone. But there are a ton of things that the Samsung does that honestly make the experience just so much better. There are tools like Circle to Search, which I have covered in the past and I'm not going to go too much over, but Circle to Search is basically just a really cool AI feature that allows you to hold down the home button and then circle anything that you want, allowing you to instantly search it. So a lot of people ask me what wallpaper I have, and instead of waiting for me to comment or trying to find this really obscure wallpaper, Circle to Search is something that'll allow you to find that easily. There's also just a lot that you get with these companies that Apple doesn't really offer. I've covered Samsung DeX before, but Samsung DeX is a really good tool that allows you to basically use your phone as a laptop or a computer anywhere you go, making traveling really easy if you're someone that needs to do some admin work like respond to emails, blah, blah, blah. It's a great tool. And something like the S Pen, this is something that you just don't even have the ability to use on an iPhone. Obviously, you have the Apple Pencil on an iPad, but you're gonna have to carry another device around for that and just be more ingrained in that ecosystem. But the S Pen, the S Pen I've honestly found to be way more useful now than ever. There's been a lot of times where I've signed PDFs using this thing, and there's also times where I just find myself doodling or writing down phone numbers and stuff like that if I'm taking an important call. I've found this to honestly be really, really nice to have. It's not something that I really used on the S22 and S23 Ultra, but I think now I've just kind of realized that it's there, and I've been using it in a lot more situations, and I'm finding this, pulling it out, and writing on the display a lot quicker than having to go into like a notes app and type everything out. But honestly, one of the big things that really kept me locked in the ecosystem was the products that I was using for my workflow. And right now I don't use anything like a Mac and whatnot, and I've been really happy with that decision, avoiding that completely. I built a PC, I use it for editing, I use it for gaming, I use it for my simulation setup, and honestly, this has just been a really good tool for me. But the reason that I initially went for the Mac is because obviously when it comes to things like AirDrop and having iMessage on the laptop and the computer, I thought that it was just a really nice thing to have. And while it is, and I did use it a lot, the thing is, and I don't think people realize, I didn't at the time either, but you can actually just go on Google Messages website on the computer and actually use your phone's texting service online. And I don't find myself needing AirDrop anymore. It was something that I was really reliant on at the time, but Google Photos has replaced that entirely for me, because when I take a photo with this phone, it backs it up immediately, whether I'm connected to Wi-Fi or cellular. That's how I have it set up, but it connects automatically and backs up the image and video. So by the time I've taken a photo or taken a video, it's already on my computer ready to download. I don't need to go through the process of sending the photo, sending the video, waiting all this time for it to upload. Honestly, that's actually saved my ass a handful of times, making really quick edits. Lastly, before this video gets too long, I also just wanted to touch on the cell reception of the S24 Ultra, and honestly all of the Android phones that I've used recently, because it seems like the reception of these devices have changed a lot from what I remember and experienced when I was younger. I don't have any problems with this phone's connection. I live in a basement apartment, and honestly, I'm not even kidding, the iPhone was getting 1 bar of service down here, which really impacted the quality of calls and my ability to even answer or send text messages. And right now, I'm at full service, or at least can you focus? 1 bar away from full service. I know a lot of people are gonna jump on the fact that, oh, it's the way that iPhone reports the signal. I've had full bars on Android and I don't get any service. That's BS, because everything that I've experienced so far with this phone tells the complete opposite story. I have never been happier with a purchase, and I think that this device is honestly something that I'm gonna use for a very long time, not something that I'm just gonna switch to and from again. Obviously, I will cover the new iPhone when it comes out, but as for being a daily driver, that's not something that's in my best interests unless Apple really, really overhauls iOS, because at this point in time, I think that iOS is a very locked down, really terrible operating system that's just really dumb. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it anywhat insightful, I would really appreciate a comment down below to show your support, and a like to the video is really appreciated as well. By the way, I don't do this often, but follow me on Instagram. It really does help out. I want to start building and engaging with you guys a lot more, and I think that Instagram and Twitter at valismind is a really good place to start. So thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.